Today I'm going to tell you all about limits, what they are, what you need to know, just the basics without any fluff. So today let's talk about what are limits. Limits tell you about the function or a graph at a specific x value. Basically, you want to know, what does the function or the graph look like when I'm heading towards a given x value? Really what this means is you're looking for the y value. So when you're in class and your teacher gives you this general definition, a limit tells us the value that a function approaches as that function's inputs get closer and closer to some number. And you're all looking at each other like, what the heck does that mean? That makes no sense to me. So I'm going to explain it. A limit tells us that the value, this is key. This is your y value. The answer to a limit is a y value. That a function approaches as that function's input. The function's input is your x value. As it gets closer and closer to some number, meaning if it's as x approaches 2, you would say the closer and closer part would be 1.9, 1.99, 1.999 until you get to 2. So all this is saying is it's getting closer to some x value. What is my y value going to be? Now let's look at this graphically. Anytime you have a limit question, you need to ask yourself, as I get closer and closer to a specific x value, for the given function or graph, what is the corresponding y value? This is key. A limit answer is a y value. When you're talking about limits, especially when you're looking graphically, you have to check them from the left and from the right. So for example, you and your best friend are going to meet at a restaurant. You're both at your own house, and you're going to meet at the restaurant. That's exactly what we're talking about with limits. They're coming from two different directions and they want to meet together, and we have to find out if they meet at the same restaurant or if they end up going to different places. So looking at this problem right here, you will see the problem written out as the limit as x approaches a, so a is our x value in this problem, of f of x, that's just our function or our graph, it equals L. And let me tell you why it equals L. So here is our x value, a, that we're looking at. Now we need to find where the graph is going when x is a. If we look at our function from the left-hand side, the graph is over here. So I'm going to highlight the graph as I get closer and closer to where x is a. That's from the left. The right-hand side, I'm going to follow the graph in as x gets closer and closer to a. Now what you'll notice at this point is that there is an open circle. If you and your best friend end up at the same restaurant, can you hug each other? The answer is yes. So open circles can have limits. So can closed-in circles. Okay? You just have to think about, if I'm at the restaurant, can I hug my friend? Yes, you can. So that limit is going to be this y value where they meet together. And in this case, that y value is L. One other thing we must discuss is the value of the graph. So the value of the function at x equals a does not have to equal the limit. So for example, let's say I put my dot right here. That is a closed-in circle. Up here at L, that's an open circle. That value does not exist. But in this problem, if I call this line K, my value at A would equal K. Notice that my value answer is K, my limit answer is L. So for a limit, you have to check from the left and the right side. You have to find out if they're headed to the same value when X is approaching whatever number they give you, but the limit and the value do not have to be the same. Now let me give you some quick, helpful tips about limits. First, F of a number means they want to find the exact Y value. They want the exact Y value, which means you must have a closed-in circle. Hint number 2. For a limit to exist, you must check the graph from the left and from the right. If the number from each side is the same, that is the limit. If they don't, then the limit doesn't exist. Next tip. A limit can be an open circle, meaning they can be hugging. If you can be at the same location and wrap your arms around someone, that limit can exist. And last, a line is made up of a bunch of closed circles.